Yes, we'd like to get. Yes, we'd like to get started now. It's 13 minutes past 9. We were supposed to start at 9, but we decided to allow a few minutes for everybody to join. So I think we have a good quorum. All our all the guests are here. Welcome to this webinar on writing research publications and on supervision models. We are excited about this because we are engaged in writing research publications and in supervising students all the time. So there's definitely going to be a lot that we are going to learn today. Even those who are veterans, veteran publishers and veteran supervisors, there's still a lot that we should be able to learn from the discussion and engagement that we shall have during this session. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this webinar. And Chair, do we start as is the tradition with a word of prayer?
It's fine.
And yes, we could start with a word of prayer. I'd request a volunteer to pray for us. Or Dr. Njuguna, I saw you here. I normally like it when you pray. Is she still here? Dr. Njuguna?
Hello. Hello,
Dr.
Chair. Yes.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm inviting you to do a quick prayer for us this morning.
Let us pray in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we come before you this morning. We want to thank you for the gift of this day and for the gift of one another. And that, Lord, this seminar that has been organized for us, let it be fruitful and support us in doing what we have to do. We thank you, we honor you, and glorify you in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Njuguna. Now, I would like to call on Dr. Njehia to quickly, invite our DVC Rio to give the opening remarks. Then we continue with the program.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ogola. And could I request maybe if you're not
we've lost you, Daktari. There's no sound from you.
Sorry. I think I was muted. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ogola. And without much ado, I think I take this opportunity to invite our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, to give the opening remarks. Welcome, Madam DVC.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's to be here. And I want to acknowledge our guest speakers this morning, Professor Kosa and Dr. Pungose, the Dean, School of Education and Lifelong Learning, Professor Santon Ondi, Dr. Bola, and all staff of Kenyatta University. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's really a great pleasure to welcome everyone this morning to this really very important workshop. We're delighted that we've gathered here this morning to really focus on a very important aspect for all academicians within the university. And so really, it gives me great pleasure to give the opening remarks for this important webinar on writing publications and supervision models for postgraduate students. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that as scholars, all of us know the old adage, the old statement, publish or perish. This adage held true before the digital era, and it still holds true right now. The academic may have moved from print articles to digital articles, but the principle remains the same. Since time immemorial, publishing has occupied an exalted position in academia. It is through publishing that one is able to share the recently discovered knowledge with other scholars, as well as interrogate the new knowledge that has been generated by other scholars. Most universities worldwide serve three missions: teaching, research, and community service. So publishing has a central role to play in the fusion of the three missions. When academics conduct research, it would be an exercise in futility if the findings were not shared out. Publishing is one of the surest ways of sharing and disseminating the findings to a wider audience. Publishing nourishes the teaching function of the university as the new knowledge generated enriches our teaching and as we integrate it into the curricula. Publishing also informs the community service mandate of the university as it informs participants engaged in community development of the challenges faced by the community as well as possible solutions. Publishing counts highly in the ranking of universities globally. Webometrics. Universities ranked at the top are usually those with high quality output. Unfortunately, publication output is very low in the global South, and therefore the top positions in global university rankings are scooped by universities in the North. However, over time, we have seen a number of universities in the South coming up with their publications. Of course, each of us can ask ourselves as individual scholars, what is publication output? What is our publications ranking at the departmental, school, university, national and international levels? What is, for example, one's Google Scholar Index, Scopus Index, and therefore being able to publish effectively and being able to publish in recognized journals is very important for each and every single one of us as scholars and as institutions as we aspire to improve the positions of our universities. Just to mention something in regard to supervision models, which we will also interrogate today. Supervision, we know, is a critical aspect of teaching and learning at postgraduate level. Unfortunately, many universities do not have training programs for their faculty supervision, for their faculty on supervision. Consequently, this mostly leads to faculty replicating how they were supervised when they were students. And so if the supervision model that was used was flawed, it also ends up being replicated in our own supervision models. Postgraduate supervision is beset by a number of challenges, ranging from a heavy supervision workload to part-time postgraduate students who do not have time to dedicate their studies. I think we're all aware of this. Sometimes our postgraduate students disappear for months on end, and therefore really difficult to have a systematic way of supervising them. Therefore, the expected discussion on supervision models could not have come at a better time. We're really grateful to our two guest speakers, resource persons who have agreed to present on publication and supervision models this afternoon. We're looking forward to these discussions, and we thank you very much. Welcome everyone to this training session, workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. At least I'm allowed to unmute and give Professor a clap on behalf of the others. Thank you so much, Professor. We are really, really glad that you were able to spare some time to join us. I know your office can be busy. You probably stepped out of another meeting to come for this, so we don't take this for granted. We are so glad you're able to join us this morning for this very important webinar. And whenever we shall have other similar webinars, we'll always invite you, Professor. Thank you so much. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you, the Division of Research, for the support that you continue to give members of staff at Kenyatta University in their research endeavor. You have continued to give us immense support all the time, and we are very, very grateful, Professor. Thank you. Okay, now I would like to go back to Dr. Mukirai here, the Chairman, Department of Education Management, Policy and Curriculum Studies, to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Simon Koza. And of course, we will also introduce Dr. Cedric Mpongose. Chair, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ogora, for that. Let me also thank the DVC for her opening remarks, and maybe request her that if her program allows, she can remain with us so that she can also benefit and also make a contribution. So at this point, members, I want to introduce our facilitators. We have got two facilitators from the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. We have got Professor Simon Beki Koza and Dr. Cedric Beki Mpungose. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah. So I'll start with Professor Simon Beki. He is a university distinguished teacher and also an associate professor and also a National Research Foundation related researcher. And he is quite decorated because he is number 42 of the top 100 world-rated South African scientists of mathematics, curriculum, and educational technology at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. He has previously served as an academic leader of research and higher degrees, as well as teaching practice at University of KwaZulu-Natal. He has served as a coordinator of various undergraduate and postgraduate programs, as well as engaged in teaching and supervision of both undergraduate and postgraduate students in the areas of curriculum studies and educational technology. He has received several teaching, research, and supervision awards of excellence. And he also has experience in teaching at other levels apart from the university. He has experience in teaching at the school levels, at technical college levels, and now on top of that, now the university experience. In terms of supervision, his output is quite impressive. He has graduated 30 PhD students and more than 60 Master of Education students. So that's quite impressive. And he has published quite a lot with 55 publications in local and international journals. He has also served as an editor and a guest editor for local and international books and journals, respectively. We inform that he has keen interest in e-learning theories and practices. So that's Professor Beki, but I'm sure when he takes the podium, he is going to let us know more about him. That is just a synopsis of who he is, and he is going to let us know more about him. Then I introduced Dr. Cedric Beki Mpungose, and he is a senior lecturer in the area of curriculum studies and physical science at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. He's also a Fulbright research scholar and the Mellon Foundation scholar, and he coordinates different undergraduate and postgraduate programs, as well as teaches and supervises postgraduate research in educational technology and curriculum studies and physical sciences at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. He has also published quite a lot in local and international journals. So members, those are our two facilitators.
Prof, you are unmute. You are muted now. Doc, you are muted.
Then somebody must have muted me. Maybe the host muted me. Okay, so I was saying these are our facilitators this morning, and they are going to tell us more about themselves when they take the podium. And what I wanted to say is that what we're having today is just the beginning, because this is meant to be a program. And I think Professor Becky is going to shed more light on the program and the other activities that are lined up. Actually, Professor Becky and Dr. Mpugo said they were supposed to have come to KU. It was supposed to be a physical workshop, but I think they faced some technical hitches the last minute, and so they were not able to travel to Kenya. But we hope that in future, as we continue with the program, they'll be able to come here physically so that we can be able to have that physical interaction with them. So with that, now I hand over to Professor Simon, so that he can take over the program. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I was trying to ask Dr. Mpungo to mute those who are coming in because we decided not to mute them automatically. But now when they come, it looks like there's that echo. So, but Dr. Mpungo will help us to deal with this, with the technical part of it. But otherwise, I would like to greet everyone, and then especially I would like to say thank you very much, colleagues, for welcoming us to come at the Kenyatta University. And yes, really, it is true that we were supposed to come physically, but because of some situations, then we're unable to come. But anyway, then we're able to deal with this situation where we were able to organize the webinar. So organizing the webinar then is replacing what we were going to present. And then on behalf of the University of KwaZulu-Natal, I would like to say greetings to the Chancellor of the University of the Kenyatta University, the Vice Chancellor, DVC, the deans, the head of departments, academic staff, professional staff, students, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. So what then we are doing today, we are in the process of trying to introduce a collaborative platform that may help us as Africa to come together and share our strategies in terms of supervision. And then also, we are also trying to open this platform to share our publications, as we have seen that the DVC has articulated well everything about the importance of supervision and also the importance of publication. So in other words, that DVC has already indicated the importance of everything. Therefore, I don't have to repeat what our DVC has already alluded on. So what we are planning to do is that, because we have visited other universities in Africa, including the National University of Lesotho, University of Eswatini. So what we are now trying to do is to bring Africa together to say, let's share good practices of supervision, let's share good practices of publications. So with those processes, then we are able to uplift our universities so that when it comes to these so-called rankings, we are up there as African universities. So we then, our plan then is to say that when we start today, we will then have to have another webinar now that will be specifically will be articulating our supervision models through a guest speaker that we'll have. So it will be every second Friday and Saturday of the second month. So at the moment, we are planning to have it to start maybe on the 12th and 13th of May, so that all these universities that I've indicated will come together with their students. So on Friday, we will have a guest speaker. Then on Saturday, we'll ask our students, especially our PhD students, to present their project so that as supervisors, we will support them from different universities. So when we do that, because we've been doing that at UKZN, working with universities like National University of Lesotho, Great University of Zimbabwe. So we've been doing that in the previous years, and then we've seen that that has produced so many PhD candidate and master students. And then we have also done the same with what we call Mauritius Institute of Education. So there we've facilitated that program in such a way that we ended up signing a memorandum of understanding between the two universities that colleagues that side are collaborating with us in terms of publication and also supervision. So what we are now trying to establish is to see if this model of working together will help us. Therefore, our beginning today will be just to say, let's introduce and see what we have. And then through our coordinators from our universities, will then know what the program is, but we were planning to have a formal one on the 12th and 13th of May, so that all these universities can come together with their students, and then we started that part of the supervision. Then while we are doing that, we will also be collaborating in terms of how our publications are coming out there and share the special issues that we have from our journal, different journals and international journals. So those of us who are guest editors will have to share with colleagues so that we have a distribution of those papers in different journals. Right now, I was invited by Education Sciences as a journal. The journal is running from Switzerland, just because they don't have voices from Africa. So they've asked me to be a guest editor with other colleagues from South Africa. So we'll be doing that together, and the other colleague from the National University of Lesotho will be doing that special issue together. But all in all is that we are saying bring and share. Bring your student and then let's share good practice together. So that's what we are planning to do. So what I'll be presenting then here is the model that we use as UKZN in terms of supervision. So when we deal with the issue of supervision, so we'll start with supervision, and then after a short break, then we'll have the issue of writing publications, and then making sure that those publications are seen by scholars out there. So with those introductory words, colleagues, I would like to start by saying, I'm sure most of us are not aware of our presence. So in other words, we are not aware of our positions, because what we have is just as our bodies is something that we own. If we own these bodies, which means we are not the bodies. So this thing, which I call my hand, is just something that I own, but I'm not this hand. I'm someone else, not the head. So what we have as bodies is just the user interface, is the tool that we use for our own survival. So when we use this tool for our own survival, which means they are subjective in nature. Therefore, we may not say this is better than this one until we talk about the need to say, this is good when we talk about these needs. This is good when we talk about the other needs. So which means whatever we have in our universe or multiverse is subject to change according to the need. That's why we conduct research, and we'll keep conducting research until we find a theory or a tool that will give us what we call objective reality. But for now, we don't have that, because even our positions in our bodies, we don't know where we are, whether we are in the leg or in the hip or in the, so we then have to conduct studies on the basis of those, because if we don't know where we are, which means we will always guess about what we are doing. And then if someone will come with a nice theory, we'll simply say, oh, this theory is good, and then we follow that theory. If it is not working for us because of certain problems, then we start to change it. So changing it now, it's a declaration that we don't have a specific tool that can be used by our students, that can be used by staff in order to make sure that they increase their happiness. So what we have then as a supervision model are what we are using at UKZN to increase the number of our PhD graduate and master's graduate, so that postgraduate students are graduating, because these are the models that we tend to concentrate on and clarify well. So in presenting them, then we are saying, because we don't know where we are positioned in our bodies, it is now safer to say we follow what our scientists have produced. So scientists have tried to cut our legs, and then they discovered that we are still alive, even if they've moved our leg. They moved our kidneys, but we are still alive. Then they can replace our heart, but we can still alive. We still have life. Now, they came to conclusion to say that no, but you cannot replace the brain. So which means the mind is the one that is helping us to position ourselves in the bodies that we have. Because we own this body, where are we owning it? They assume that it's owned by the mind. So the mind is now capable of helping us to do what we are doing. Remember, when we were born, few seconds after birth, we were able to move, able to breathe, able to do all these actions. Where did we generate those actions? Then scientists will simply say that is unconscious mind. Unconscious mind, it's a part of our system that is generating all these body functions. So in other words, when we talk about us, we are talking about what is happening consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. So unconscious mind is what helps us to breathe, to digest, to do all these body functions. So which means even animals will have that kind of mind where they are able to digest and do everything. So when we were born, we were doing this very well. But when we're doing this, we started to store these actions. So every action that we had previously, we were able to store the action within the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is a permanent memory that stores everything. So when we reflect then, or we try to when we try to do something, all what we have is stored around the subconscious mind. So subconscious mind, if I have to drive from Nairobi to the Kenya University, I will remember because I'm used to drive like that. So what I'll do then, I'll remember when I start the car and go. But in the car, I may be talking to my to my friends in the car or colleagues, but I will be driving well. Why? Because the subconscious mind has those tools that are capable of helping me, even if I'm not aware. Therefore, the subconscious mind, it's a bigger tool that we need to drill and then critique, reflect on it using what is working for us. So what will be working for us should be prioritized in terms of storing this in the subconscious mind. And how then do we do that? We do that by using our reasoning power, which is the conscious mind. Conscious mind is what helps us to reason. So animals may not have this because they don't reason. All what they have what is stored in the subconscious mind, which is driven naturally by what they've accumulated in their experience when they were with other animals. So people then, they are capable of retrieving, adjusting what is in the subconscious mind so that you are able to do things according to what you need. Because remember, when we were 5 years old, for example, we were happy because we were under our parents. And then maybe when we are 10 years, we're still happy. But look at us when we are now 21 years or 25 years, we've decreased our joy. It shouldn't be like that, it should be opposite. So the more you accumulate knowledge or experience, we should be able to increase what we have in the subconscious mind. So if we are not aware of what we have in the subconscious mind, we may be victim of what the circumstances or situation are challenging us with. Therefore, the mind then is helping us to deal with whatever action that we do. Now, what is happening then in terms of supervision? When we supervise our students, we assume that we are up the hill and then we are pulling them from the bottom of the hill. But now what is happening then? If students are not aware that they are being pulled from the beginning there, from the bottom of the mountain or hill to the top, they may go to the top, but only to find that they were unable to increase their happiness. So in other words, their studies are not helping them to be joyful. So much that if our models of supervision are only helping us to produce a number of students without helping them to be aware of moving to the mountain, that when they move, they should make sure that they move because they will be happy, they will be joyful when they come up to the mountain or to the hill. Because if they are not happy, then something is wrong there. Because can we imagine achieving your PhD? You were happy then, but after achieving your PhD, people start to run away from you. yet you like to communicate with people. So, which means now you are suffering from your success. So suffering from your success is strategy, because we have worked hard in order for you to be successful. So in the process of going up there, we should be aware that we have families, we have people around us who are supporting what we are doing. So when that is happening, we should be able to acknowledge those people and try to climb to the mountain with them. So in other words, if I achieve my PhD, I should make sure that whosoever is around me is aware that here is the language that I'm speaking while I'm going up. So my supervisor is pulling the hand there. So like that. But what then we should be able to do is that we make sure that these students are moving up the hill, but they are increasing their happiness. If they are decreasing their happiness, which means there's something wrong again with our supervision models. So as a result, then we are now saying that in order for our students to be joyful in life, we should give them a platform for them to reflect. When they don't reflect, they only listen to us and then do their studies in order to finish the studies, that may not make them happy or joyful in life. Therefore, this platform that we are opening here, it's an important platform where students will share the view of being joyful after finishing your study. So we have another object here where we are saying it's like a puzzle. Doing research or supervision is like a puzzle where your supervisor will hold a male puzzle, and then a student may hold the female one, or the other way around. Therefore, we should be aware who is holding the female puzzle, and we should be aware who is holding the male puzzle. So that mutual understanding is important when it comes to supervision. But the end goal, that relationship should take us to the next level to say, when our students start, they started there, supervisor will keep them on top of them. All supervisors will just keep the student on top of them. And then students should be able to develop in such a way that they build on top of what their supervisors are doing. So the scholarship of supervisors should be able to help students to build on it. Once they build on it, they become supervisors in future as well. And then the green party there is them when they are equals to their supervisors. But when they started down there, they were up there on top of the supervisor. Then they had to develop, use their supervisor scholarship as the foundation of what they are building. So that's how we treat what you call supervision. And then when we go forward then to look at the specific models, we normally have what we call a cohort. At the University of KwaZulu-Natal, we have a cohort where students come together and then issues of research are being discussed. And we have different cohorts at UKZN where a supervisor may decide to say, I take my student and so student, we bring them together, or or the School of Education is deciding now to have a cohort for the school, or the College of Humanities decide to have a cohort. So there are different cohorts that we have and we use at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So from my experience, I've seen all these different models working, and they are working well when students are aware of that. So for example, if you take a horizontal way of supervising students, which is unstructured. So the student will always need other people's opinions. So in other words, as a supervisor, sit down with your student, allow them to reflect. After that reflection, you will start to know them, to say, okay, they are like this and this and this. So allow them now to find their strength, whether they are working well with the opinions of the people. So what they will do then, they'll go around joining different cohorts. They will have cohorts for their friends and then etc. For them, opinions are very important. And then they may even have a group email. They may have a social media site, that is WhatsApp group, etc. And then, but for them, when they are done with their studies, they would like to have to check everything at the end. So they may use Turnitin to check if they've not plagiarized by mistake, and then the supervisors and then will and the student will start to sign the thesis to go for examination. But the journey here, it's important that this student will always need a group of other students to work with, or a group of other supervisors. So then as supervisors, we need to be aware that in a horizontal way of doing things, or unstructured way of doing things, there are students who are working well, who are happy with that kind of model of supervision. Therefore, our awareness will be important. As academic leader of research and higher degree committee, I had that kind of situation where I've seen students who were demanding to work with an unstructured way of doing it, and supervisors were saying, no, 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 we're at this university, we have rules and this and this. Therefore, supervisors will demand that, no, you will only work with me. Without going to other supervisor to look for second opinion. Don't do that. So they restrict them like that. So as a result of that, because the students are only happy when they share with other people, then they will disappear from the program. And then the supervisor will start to say, what is happening here? Then they have that situation. Yet the student's need here is to make sure that it's going through the situation where other opinions are important. So, but the opposite to that, then we have the vertical one, where they will tell you that everything has its own facts. Therefore, what the university has as the structure of doing a study, it's a fact according to the university. Therefore, why do you then deviate from what the university has prescribed? So for those students then will stick to their supervisor without any opinion from other people or other students or other supervisors. They will be happy working with their supervisors. So for us as supervisors, the main issue that we need to be aware of is that what are the students need? Is it the student looking is looking for facts, or is it looking for opinion? If it is looking, if a student is looking for facts, therefore we must make sure that the structure we have is clearly prescribed and then articulated to those particular students, because here they can even have their emails that they are using to communicating direct with their supervisors. They even generate some reference management tools like EndNotes and others. So they even include Grammarly to check whatever spelling or issues of plagiarism. They also use Zoom to communicate with their supervisors, especially now that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. They communicate well. For them, Turnitin then is part of their program. They can check using Grammarly if they have not plagiarized. And then later, then they can now deal with it after it has been approved by their supervisor. But this side, what is important then this side is that these particular students, if the degree is 2 years, if it's a minimum of 2 years, they will make sure that they take 2 years done. So the 2 years they take, it's important because what is normally happening around it is that when they have the 2 years, they will then structure their program with their specific supervisors and start to say, I want to finish by the 1st of December or November. Then they will work backward until they come to where they are. And then they will also make sure that at least they submit every week to their supervisor, because they don't submit the chapter, but what they are submitting is the section that they have covered. Only the section that they have covered, and then the section will be submitted. And then the supervisor will approve that. They will then come to that discussion via Zoom. They'll discuss those comments from the supervisor. Then the student will continue with another section. The next section will continue. After the section is over, then the student will submit. They will have a discussion up until they are done. And you can see there, when it's happening like that, the process is demanding both students and the supervisor to work and understand the study like that. Therefore, taking that 2 years or 1 year is possible if you work according to that vertical or structured model. So for me, then when my students come to me, I check them first. I want them to reflect so that they will indicate their position, whether they're taking the horizontal. So I allow them to do that, but I tell them to say that if the degree is 2 years, minimum of 2 years, taking the horizontal way of doing it may take you more than 2 years. Why? Because here, as part of the group here, there are people out there in those groups who will encourage you to publish before you finish your study. So there are times or months where you will not concentrate more on your studies, but you will concentrate more on your publications. So students are like that. Now, if you are interested in that way, and then you must make a plan then to say, how then will you be able to overcome what we call academic exclusion? So they will simply tell you that, no, I will appeal against exclusion, but you must make them aware that you will only support what you can support, but it's not guaranteed that the university may exclude them. Because once you give them that open space, they may think that you have powers of changing the rules. When they've exceeded the semesters they should take in the university, they may think that you may have power in terms of turning the rule in their favor. But you don't, no one has that, because the rules are the rules one has to follow. But this side, they are aware of the rules. That's why they stick by the rules. But now, one may ask to say, but which one is better then? Then the answer to that will be that none of them is better. It depends to what students, the needs of the students will determine whether their process is dominated by vertical or structured model, or is dominated by a horizontal or unstructured model. So now when they write, they should, so in my case, I encourage students to take a diagonal line to say, I know I need the structure from the university, and I may also need to publish. Therefore, combining these two will help us to help our students to be aware of their strength and weaknesses. But whichever side is dominating their process, we should allow that to happen without even discouraging that process. I've seen quite a number of students who have suffered just because a supervisor is demanding this position, while students are happy when they work from this side. Or the supervisor is coming from the horizontal, and then the student is demanding a structured way of doing things, to say, I'm here to learn, therefore give me the structure and step by step, because when you supervise me, you are teaching me. Therefore, let's go for that. Then student will then come to a conclusion that supervisors will have the answer to whatever they are doing. So they only realize later when they are, if for example, if they are master's student, when they don't achieve a distinction, which is cum laude, then they start to say, but I followed what the supervisor said, because they think that supervisors have the tools for objective reality, which we can use in this world to solve all the problems. Yet the supervisor has a scholarship which is useful to him or her for his own or her survival. But now students should now build their own, which will also be in line with what the supervisor has given them. So I like animals. I like to use animals in my, when I deal with the issues, because what seems to be happening is that animals are real, so they don't pretend. What you see is what you get. So what you see from people, you can see that is taken from different, is imitating certain animals in what we are doing. For example, with the horizontal model of supervision, usually, if you notice how lions can work, they are social cats. They work together all the time. But working together like that, they will now make sure that whatever they do it together, handle it together. But when it comes to eating, each one of them will be eating according to his or her own need, because this part here is coming through in terms of what they are doing out there. So they have what we call subconscious, which is combined with unconscious, to make them to become social cats. So even the cats will also be going as social cats. So when they are social cats, then they grow according to what they have as social cats. Now, but when you look at the tiger, it's working alone. One tiger may have a space somewhere there where that space is untouchable. The space will be used for different activities, but the tiger will be working alone. Or you can also look at the leopard and others. So those, but when it comes to the lion fight and the tiger fight, you will see that the tiger would like to finish the fight now, because the punches from the tiger will be coming doubled. He will just double the punches so that he can finish the lion as early as possible, because he's aware that if he allows time for the lion to recover, to handle those punches, and that what will happen is that the tiger will get tired and the lion will be on top of the tiger. Therefore, when you work vertically, you want to finish now and publish after as a student. But when you work with a horizontal structure there or model, all what you do, you want to take your time because you enjoy to be like social cat. You follow what the social cats are doing. But then what will be then important here? You just be aware that both these cats are dangerous if your needs are around being dangerous. So you may make them being dangerous to you if you don't understand them. So in other words, these two models may be dangerous to you if you don't try to understand them before you start the journey. Because if your supervisor as a student is coming from the opposite side, definitely you have a situation where you will really crumble in the system. But if you are aware of them, you know that they are harmless. So therefore, you take the strength of the two and deal with them accordingly. So when we deal with students, then students then declare whether they want to follow the prescribed years, then you give them the structure and tell them exactly to write in the calendar to say that this is where you're submitting, etc., etc. You have a structure where a student will just have to comply with that. But when it comes to horizontal, there is no tentative structure, but a student can indicate the last date to say, I will be in that date, submit towards the end of this particular month. But in working, the student will decide to say, I have met Dr. So-and-so or Professor so-and-so, help me with this. Supervisor, please check if this is correct. And if the supervisor say, no, this is out of order, then a student will go back to look for another professor or doctor in the university, up until the supervisor is happy to say, okay, what you have written now, it's good. Let's continue with it. So, but if we're a student working from this horizontal, be aware and just be aware, but articulate that to your supervisor that these are my needs. As supervisors, we also have to do the same to say, okay, your needs so and so are not going according to my culture. My culture is to take the structured one, or my culture is to take the unstructured one. Then you negotiate it there to say, okay, when you increase this side and you decrease this side, it may challenge me a little bit, but let's see how it will happen. Then you allow them to work according to their needs. So that's what now help us in our case to make sure that students are meeting their targets and then they are becoming happy. So as a result, then you can see another demonstration here to say that if you were to have facts, those who are from vertical position, they will claim that they have facts. What are the facts of a lion and a zebra? So is that lions feed on zebra. So when they feed on zebra, it's obvious that lion will chase zebras. So in writing then, so whosoever then seeing that if we are coming from vertical part of it, or vertical model, if we start to give the opposite of that, then our thesis will fail or our papers will be rejected because we are taking the vertical way of doing things. So even when we write for journals, we have the same thing where we take vertical or sometimes we take horizontal. But taking horizontal way of doing things, we may make that according to our local communities to say here, we like zebra so much that we cannot be allowing a narrative that will say zebras are chased by lions. So we create a new platform where we simply say zebras sometimes can chase lions. So, but when we come to this side, then it's obvious that there will be a fight between this side and this side, because this side here, opinions of local people should create that to be facts for them, although it's opinion. But this side, they will always say, Where is it written? They need something written, which is a product of research. But is that good for us? We have been trying this for years and years and years, but we are not getting it right. What is the problem then? I think the problem here, when I work with my students, is that we start before we ask them to reflect. But starting by asking them to reflect, to say, do you know that lion and zebra, when they are growing together, they can be friends. So if you keep them together as when they are still young and then grow together, you may see them hugging each other like that and that, because they are working like that. Now, in research then, when you write your story or narrative, be aware that your examiner or your reviewers of your papers may be coming from vertical model of doing things, or it may be coming from horizontal. So try to harmonize between the two by bringing a story that will indicate when we need that horizontal way of doing it, when we need that vertical way of doing it, so that we harmonize these two models like that. So when we harmonize them, that's when we can now convince our examiners, we convince our reviewers, because remember, I started by indicating that we don't have a theory that gives us the truth, but the theories that we have are for us to survive. So they are not giving us the truth, but they are just helping us to survive. For us, then, we still need to use them and see where they end their story. And then we extend according to our needs to the next level of articulating things. Because look at it, if you were to say, I've done my master's degree, but after doing my master's degree, my family members decided to distance themselves from me because I have that master's degree. So to have that situation, I may have it if I have not involved them in what I was doing. So, but if I involve them, then chances are that I may have a better tools for my survival, which will make me joyfully. But all what we have right now is what our senses are giving us as the tools for survival. So now let us try the, okay. So I've then proposed a model like this, which usually help my students to say, okay, are you working with the vertical one? That has to be professional enough to follow to address the what question. And it also have to be driven by specific content, learning management system for the university. But if you decide to take this direction, your identity, which would be societary identity. So your community should contribute towards what you are doing. So, but if you take the personal one will be saying, let's combine these two and see how we can work on this. So a good example here is that when doctors, which are professional doctors, when they say red meat is healthy, everyone who is taking this professional identity will eat meat, eat red meat. Whether they have developed gouts, then they are suffering, it doesn't matter, because doctors said we must eat red meat is healthy. But we don't even ask, is healthy to who? Is healthy to who? Then is not our question that we have. So we take it as it is. What is healthy? The question would be, what is healthy? Red meat. Therefore, we all eat red meat. Then what about this side then? Our society will say when we celebrate, we need red meat. You see, now they are supporting what the professionals are saying there. Then they will all eat meat there in that community. So when we now supervise students, we'll start to say, if we are coming from this side or this side, we'll start to say, students, write about the importance of meat. A student who will deviate from promoting meat while it is prescribed by doctors here that red meat is healthy, that student will be our enemy. Those students will be our enemies because they are taking what they are trying to oppose what the doctors have said. Or otherwise, our community here, if our community is saying we must eat red meat, and then whosoever will oppose that will be seen as a bad person. So how then do we come to a term that we help those people who are trying that? Because it may happen that someone is allergic to red meat, but because doctors said that this person will have to eat that. And I've seen that quite a number of cases that happening to those who are vegetarian, but when they grow up eating red meat because red meat is healthy, or even their families and their community are cooking meat every day. Almost every day they cook meat. Yet these individuals are suffering slowly. When they become adult, then that's when they start to reflect back to say, one day I did not eat red meat, but I was strong and then I was healthy. What happened to me? Then they reflect and try the red meat and see if it is the one that is causing them some stomach cramps or something. Therefore, they will become vegetarian. So now in our supervision or our writing, we should not be promoting what was not tested on us according to our needs. We must test it first and see if it fits well with our needs, the needs that will make us joyful in life. So we'll have them there. Same thing applies this side. We also have to check and see. We can even convince our societies there and our professionals to say that there are unique people here because all of us are unique. That's why our fingerprints are not the same, different, because our, what we call our DNAs are not the same. Therefore, when we reflect, it's when we know what we need according to our spaces and time. Then we use that accordingly. So now, the issues of assessment, they drive us every day, because when you start to say, good morning, you see when we started by greeting each other or one another. So that was part of formative assessment. We were assessing to establish if we can continue with the webinar. So we established that. After that, then that's when we continued with that. So this framework that I've designed here, it has been helping me because it is coming from experiences of my students and experiences of my publications. And then when we are able to combine these three, they produce what we call natural identity. So we do things naturally without forcing ourselves in situations that will decrease our happiness or that will decrease our joy. So we work because we know who we are, we reflect well, and then start to say, these are my needs. Yeah, so and so's needs are like that, but mine are in this line. So they are dominated by this professional identity or social identity. But at the end, they should be driven by your personal identity so that you keep on doing this. When you keep on doing this, it's when we are saying you re-reflect, you re-critique. So in the 4th or 5th industrial revolution, that's what we need in order to make sure that we survive. So we're able to survive during the course of the era of COVID-19, because we're able to reflect, to say, as the university, we have this system. Therefore, let's deal with the issues according to what we had. Then when we borrowed from outside, we borrowed from outside, especially in the West or European countries, or yes, we were borrowing there. For example, we borrowed Zoom there, which was designed by a Chinese American business person who generated it. But what we use then, we use it as a user interface, because we don't know exactly the objective reality of what we call Zoom or Microsoft Teams. We don't know their objective reality, how they were created, but we know that they were created for business activities. Then we found that as a nice user interface or tool for us to deal with our teaching and supervision. That's why we are using it even today. But what we have about it is just the user interface, not objective reality. We don't know how they've combined the circuit and all those circuits that were combined in order to give us this Zoom. But we are happy as a user interface. All the theories that we have then, we are happy to use them as the user interface. But we should not end it there, because the more we come closer to objective reality of that particular thing, is the more we become fitter in terms of our universe. So when we work together then as a team, African universities working together, we may even come up with a tool that will be closer to the needs of African scholars, and then we work according to that. By the time we share this with maybe other European or Asian countries, we are aware that this is the voice from Africa. Our needs are like this. Therefore, yes, we can see this from the West. Yes, it's okay, but it's not working for us. Therefore, but at the moment, we seem not to have what we call personal identity that will help us to reflect in order to be natural in our processes. So we need to be African. Naturally, processes of Africa should be helping us to do that. So let's have this activity. Then when we look at our activities in South Africa, we have this situation. We have 26 universities. Now, our department is expecting that by the year 2030, we should be able to have 100 PhD graduates per 1 million people. So by 2030. But what we have at the moment, we only produce about 1,800 PhD graduates. In order to deal with this vision, which is our National Development Plan, in order to achieve it, we should be producing 5,000 PhD graduates per year as the 26 universities in South Africa. So now, sharing this with other African countries should be able to help us, because when we work as cohort, getting new strategies that we have not used, which may be useful to our students, maybe we may be able to produce the 5,000 every year until 2030. Then we can say we have achieved our vision. So, and also staff members, we are expected to have at least 75% of our staff with PhD by 2030. This at the moment, we should be increasing the number of PhD graduates in terms of staff by 12%. But at the moment, we are good. Fortunately, we are increasing them at the rate of 34%, which means this side may be working for us, because this is what we should be producing. That is 12% of our staff every year. But what we are doing then, most of our universities are producing 34% every year. Now, but with the PhD graduates, that's the reason now we were sponsored by our National Research Foundation to say, can you guys go around Africa and see if universities in Africa may not contribute towards what Africa needs in terms of collaboration and everything. So that's the reason now we are dealing with this issue. And then our universities are positioned like this in South Africa. We have 5 research-intensive universities in 3 provinces, that is the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Gauteng. So these 5 are universities that start any initial qualification with a degree. So they don't offer a diploma as the initial qualification. So they have that. So that's why you find that in all these years are rated in the top 500 universities in the world. But the years you can see they move, they keep on moving. But the advantage they have is that they start their student with a degree. While if you go to universities of technology, we have 6 of them. They are in 4 provinces. So for them, they start with a diploma. So if a student has a lower marks in their matric, and then they can be accommodated by our University of Technology. So, but they are working hard to make sure that they also produce PhD graduates. So what they have then, they start with a diploma, and then after that they go for a Bachelor of Technology degree. Then they go along there. But what we have is the main part of our country is the comprehensive universities. Comprehensive universities are there are 15. They are each province, each of the 9 provinces has its own at least one comprehensive university. Comprehensive universities are working according to the need of those students. If they have low marks, they can start them with a diploma. If they have high marks, they can start them with a degree. So they check the need and then go according to that. That's why sometimes we find that it's difficult for them to beat the rankings, the world rankings, because they have those with diploma who are challenging them more than what they are challenging research-intensive universities. So that's basically what we have in South Africa. So I wish us then to see how then our subconscious is being articulated, but what we are doing. So I have a title here about where we investigate a number of pretty people found in pictures. I have some nice pictures there, which I would like you to see and see how our subconscious mind is being influenced. So in other words, it's like we are being hypnotized all the time when we will see new knowledge. So we need to be aware then that no, I'm not moving outside what I have as a frame of my thinking all the time, so that you don't get carried away without necessarily becoming aware. Okay, so now pretty people then, what kind of people are pretty? And then is the title of the study, this one. Then after that, I've generated what we can call a purpose statement. The purpose of the study is to investigate the number of pretty people found in pictures. Then I also brought in some 3 research questions. A descriptive research question, which start with what? What is the number of pretty people You see, I'm still taking my phenomena with me, which is the number of the number, and then pretty people is the focus of the star. Therefore, I'm taking it, but the method of data collection here will be photo voice. I will just take those photos or pictures, analyze them, and see what the meaning behind those photos. So that is descriptive. But now when I take now, when I observe them, I will simply say I'm taking what we call operational question. Operational question is when you is something that you can observe. When you observe and then you understand it according to what the nature is. If, for example, I want to know how you drive the car. So operational question will start with how. I'll just observe you driving the car in order to make sure that I generate first-hand information on how you drive the car. So that is an operational question. But what about the philosophical question? Unfortunately, for PhD students, they can't run away from this one. And then, and supervisors will be heavy in terms of bringing this question in. And then to find out why things are happening the way they are. So we have some interviews where we can interview people. So what then is happening is that when we deal with these issues, we sometimes deal with them at that descriptive level where we ask just questions, the what question, or we deal with our research at the operational level, and then we deal with how things are happening, where we can observe, or we deal with things at the philosophical level. For PhD, that's comparison that they must deal. But for master's student, yes, they can take it from the descriptive level as well as at the operational level, which is operational question. But in this case, then I've brought in the 3 questions. Then I want us to go through this kind of activity and tell me what you see here. And remember, I'm hypnotizing you now. I'm hypnotizing you, showing you how your students or your supervisor hypnotize you. So what we are then doing here is that, for example, we first have a frame to define who is pretty. So we are saying pretty people, they should be women. So we can't have a man as a pretty one. And then they should have long hair or dark hair. So one of the two. And then they should be, the age should not be, they should be under 61 years old. They should be wearing light clothes in summer and dark clothes in winter, something like that. So it's just an example of a frame that you may come with when you do this research. Now, when this is happening, then you will then have to tell me exactly what do you see there. You may raise your hand if you want to tell me exactly what do you see there. Dr. Mpungosa will help me with those hands, and also our MC will check the hands for me and tell me how they articulate. So what do you see there? Anyone who would like to try what you see there? Okay, let me give you a clue there. Others will say they can only see the verse, which is this one. Here's the verse. They see the verse, obvious. But others, while you are trying to present a verse, they may see a face here. To say here is a face of a human being. Here is another face there. You see the faces there. So then the question will be, do you agree that there are faces there? Or you can only see, okay, I can see there, they are saying 2 faces, yes. Now I can see 2 heads, yes. Okay. Yeah, you can send it via the chat. I'll see 1 verse, yes. Yeah, So yes, there are two faces, which is this one and this one. So remember then, when you have these faces, you can only see the faces if your frame of your subconscious mind is at a level of understanding who people are. That's why then most of you have seen the faces, because you have been working with people. So you are creating these faces in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is retrieving, is bringing that back. But the question is that now, are these women or men? That's what you need to answer in order to, because remember the question, we are trying to count a number of pretty people. And you can see how difficult is to generate that data that will give you exactly the answer. Because looking at these people, you may not tell whether this is a man or this is a woman, because they're in the dark space. So others are saying one man, one woman. So you see now, we are now assuming that is one man, one woman, or only men. So that assumption then is driving us to conclude and have a certain theory about the answer that we are looking for. So if these are women, or if there is one woman, because others are saying only men, others are saying one woman, one man. So now, how then do we get the correct answer? Is now to go back to the designer of this picture to tell us exactly that, who did you represent here? We can see that there's a shape of a face there. So were you designing a man or women? If the answer is that a man or two men, therefore we are not going to count this picture. We'll simply say, okay, we can't count from this one. But what about then when you go to the next one here to say this one? Then what do we see here? Do we see faces or the verse? What exactly do we see in this one? Oh, others are saying, oh, on the nose, there's something look like men. Yes, like women, etc. So here, what is the bigger picture is to see grandmother here and grandfather this side. That's a bigger picture. Eh? So if you deal with bigger picture, whether you call them vertical or horizontal, but you have what you call bigger picture here. Bigger picture is like that. But now, when you look at the details, you can see someone has indicated that I can see someone playing guitar. So an old man there is playing guitar. If we look at the details, smaller pictures. Another woman there is carrying something there on top, is sitting down carrying something. So, which means we've already seen that we have grandmother there, grandfather this side. In the eyes of the grandfather, we have another grandfather playing guitar. And then this side, we have another grandmother carrying something. And then you can see, then there's another, yes, others have seen this one in the ear to say, there's a lady coming from the ear of their grandfather. So the ear is coming there. Now, what is then, oh, here's another one here on the tower. My eyes are creating another person on the tower there. Now, the question is to go back now to say, then let's not get carried away. Let's go back to our answer. We are counting the number of pretty people. Yes. So maybe let's count it there. If we count to say grandmother and grandmother, they are women, but we don't know their age. So we cannot count them until we ask that designer who will give us objective reality about this picture. And then here we can see that this looks like a lady, a young lady. Therefore, maybe you can start to count. But counting here will now need to be triangulated by who? By the researcher, or by the researcher, by going back to say, you carry what you call objective reality. We have designed these pictures. What were you designing here? Is it the lady? And then if you say these are two ladies there, the grandmother and the grandmother, if you say these are other ones, how old were they when you designed this? That's when you are coming closer to objective reality, because the designer has exactly what was designed there according to him or her. But if we start to say we'll assume that this grandmother is only 60 years old, and this one, we may miss the point of getting the objective reality. As a result, when we supervise our students, the aim of supervising students, for example, master's student, we want to make sure that they all get 100%. But if you can count, go around universities in the world, how many of those master's students have achieved 100% in their thesis? Maybe you'll find that maybe 1% or 0% of them going around the universe. You may not find anyone. Then if the aim is to make sure that these students are getting 100%, because the main aim of teaching someone is to make sure that that person will master the content and achieve 100%. How come having good theories, but we have never achieved that? We have never come to that objective reality of giving them 100%. Even if they are getting 99, the question is, why are they not getting 100%? Because the aim of teaching them is to get 100%. But we decided to settle with the notion of helping them just to pass. When they pass, we then think that things are good, because the pass will give us a tool for survival. So the pass will give us a nice tool for survival. But what is important here is that we must come closer to that objective reality. So if they are not getting 100%, we must come closer to that. That's why now, as universities in Africa, let's work together. Maybe this tool for objective reality may come from Africa, because no continent has ever come up with it. Even us as Africa, we have not. But we must look for it. So now, trying to hypnotize you like this, I'm showing you how we fall into the trap of those tools that are presented to us as if they represent objective reality, yet they are not. Because we don't go for objective reality, but we take what is designed and believe that this is the tool for objective reality, then we settle with it. We should be able to settle with it because it helps us to survive. But when we are clear about what we need, we should go beyond those tools now. So in this here, then you may see that we have then indicated that we have grandfathers, etc., etc. But we have not come to what we call objective number that will give us objective reality, because we need someone who designed it to tell us whether this lady, this old lady, is younger than 61 years, or this lady there has long hair or black hair, something like that. Then we take it from there. But what about this one then? If you go to this one. So do we have an old man there? Do you all see an old man? And I'm sure most of us now will now look for smaller details, for details of this. Yes, pick a picture, we have this grandfather. And then when it comes to smaller picture, they'll say, aha, we have them, we have people there, sleeping there, that's one, that's one. But the question, you have to go back to say, okay, we are counting the number of pretty people. Are these ladies, according to our frame? Are these, do they fit the criteria of good? Because remember, what we call facts is determined by us, by putting a frame. So the answer to the question of a number of pretty people is that we have already defined them. Therefore, when we count it there, we make sure that each of these individuals will fit within the criteria of being pretty. Then we say, yes, they are pretty. But what about here? What do you see here then? Do you still see a grandfather only? Yes, pick a picture, grandfather. And now, what about the smaller picture then? Anything in the smaller picture? Or we don't have smaller pictures here? What's your take on this? Any smaller pictures? You can send to the chat there where if you see something other than this old man drinking beer. Oh, others are saying, oh, they can see 3 women. So which means if we say this, yeah, 3 people, 3 women, or 3 naked girls or something, yes, that's what colleagues are indicating. Yeah, but the bigger picture may be a grandfather drinking beer. But when you look closer now to details, you don't have to write that story yet until you figure out what is happening in the eyes. You can see that, aha, there are 3 ladies there by the jacuzzi. If you say this is not beer or liquid for the old man, you will simply say this is the jacuzzi. And then we have a lady there, another lady there, another lady there by the jacuzzi. One of us is indicating that these are children, these are 3 children. Okay, but others have indicated that yes, there are 3 ladies there. So now we now have to fit them into the criteria. So we can keep them so that we see if they fit the criteria. They have a long hair, etc., etc. Now, now that they are naked like that, they look like naked. All what we do now, we ask that designer to say what kind of clothing they wear during summer and during winter because of our frame of defining what is pretty people are about. Because others are saying they see 4, 1 eye, etc. So yes, the ear as well may have someone. So you count according to that. But what will be important is for us to go back to the designer of the pictures all the time. So don't conclude up until you confirm with that designer, because that designer will carry what we call objective reality. But what we see in the pictures is just the user interface for us, a tool for us to survive. But the design of it carry what we call objective reality of it. And then we must always consult that design. And what about this one? Do we have ladies here so that we can start to count again? Others will say, I can only see grandfather. So if you see grandfather like that, and then others will say, I can see a grandfather as well, carrying stick there. And also, okay, others are indicating that I can see a lady here in the ear of that old man carrying a baby. So a woman and a man, or grandfather and grandfather, yes. Or also the verse, others indicating that they can see the verse, but I don't see one. And then when it comes to other faces, look carefully there in details now. Look at there, you can see there's another face looking to the right. And then when you go this side, another face looking to the left, another face looking to the right, and then another face looking forward. You see, it look like there are so many faces here that we need to identify and ask ourselves whether these are ladies or gentlemen. But it looked like this is a lady, and that one is a lady, and this one carrying a baby is a lady. So it looked like we do have ladies there. We should now start to count. But our count should always refer back to the designer of the pictures. What was the intention of putting there? Because there is also a bed there on top there, and the dog there, sleeping there, and then we can carry that in that fashion. And then what about this one? Others will say, I can only see a flower because they like flowers. But others will create people to say, I can see a couple kissing on the flower there. And then the other one will say, oh, I can see even the legs there. Here are the legs for the couple. Here are the shoes. Here are the, that may be used by the designer just to deceive you, to treat this as a couple. But if you define it well, justify well to say that you can see it like that, it will be important to define it in such a way that if these are ladies, you must tell us how many of them are there, then we go. But what will be important is to go back to the designer and check well, to double check if these are ladies or not. But usually in life, we get carried away and just enjoy seeing the flower. And then, so when we write our thesis, we just say, that's this thing, and then, or you write your paper, this thing. When it gets to be rejected, then you start to say, no, these reviewers are crazy. It shouldn't be. Or these examiners are crazy. But you did not see what they saw. So in other words there, you should be writing in such a way that, because the pair of shoes is indicating that it's a lady. Now these are ladies because the pair of shoes is indicating that. But now all what is important is to make sure that you write in such a way that you communicate both the bigger picture and the smaller picture and justify both cases. You see now you are taking vertical at the same time you are horizontal, then you have that. But you write on the rows only, and the examiner or the reviewer identify a couple here, then you fail or your paper gets rejected. So all the time, to be closer to the objective reality, you need to make sure you confirm with the design of that. And then what about here then? Do we see ladies here? So that we can identify them as pretty people. One will say, I can see someone a couple by the ocean there. But others will say, no, I don't see people here. I can only see a baby sleeping there. The legs are there. And then the face is there, the hands are there. Yes, others will say they can see the couple as well. So you then make sure that you confirm what exactly is there. When you write your story should be able to give us a clear indication of what the tools that we are trying to generate for us. Because remember, when you write, we are generating a tool for us to view your work or to view your world. But there is no way that if you don't articulate it well, we'll simply say articulate it for you. But what we'll do, you may fail or you may get your paper being rejected when you write an article. And then what about here then? Is a tree, a nice tree. But you can't see a tree anymore because I've already hypnotized you to see people. I'm sure you start to identify people. Oh, there are faces. Phase 1, phase 2, another phase there, another phase facing down, another phase facing down, another phase facing up. So you may end up finding many phases. Yes. Yes. Yes, that's correct. Like that, to say we have many phases. Others are saying 8 phases. Maybe there are 8, maybe there are 10. What if you missed a 2? So when you count, yes, others are saying 10. Yes, there are 10 if you count them there. But again, we need to confirm that with that design. And then we start to say, how many of these are ladies? So that we start to count. You remember that our main aim is not just to go through them, but is to make sure that we count the number of people, of pretty people. Therefore, that's how we write our research, that we search, we have something, what we call a phenomena. So when we search the phenomena, it's not just an easy walk, we just not walk on the park as easy as that, but we have to be sober enough to look at the bigger picture and the smaller picture. We bring them together to bring us what we can live with and work with. And then when you see this, and then what about this one? What do you see there? Okay, tell me, what do you see there? Here, what did you see here? Oh, they are saying frog. Is this really a frog? Are you sure that you have seen a frog? Let me bring it back again. It is, yeah. Look at it carefully. Pay attention on details, and tell me if you still say it's a frog. It's no longer a frog, but it's a horse.
It's a horse.
Yes,
Oh.
You see, your story now is written as a frog, but we don't have frog in there. We only have a horse. So paying attention to details will always help you, because we'll come closer to objective reality of that particular situation. Then you get fit well then within your needs. But if you jump to the conclusion as early as looking at this as a frog, you have a problem that you will always miss details and tell the stories that will be rejected. So we don't want our stories to be rejected by general reviewers or our examiners. So that's what we need to pay attention to and make sure we have that. What about this one? What do you see then here? Let's take this one as the last one and tell me exactly what do you see there. Pay attention to it and then indicate what you see. Anyone like to try? I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, one is saying a couple, two people hugging. A person, yeah, you see, they are indicating that they can see people. Oh, one is saying, no, I don't see people, I can see dolphins. Yes, there are dolphins here moving in the white space. You see there, here's dolphin 1, dolphin 2, and a small dolphin there, a small dolphin there, and then another dolphin going down, another dolphin going this side. So that's what is happening here, that you have dolphins, they are moving in the space to create a shape of a couple. But really, we don't have people there. But because I've hypnotized you to look for people, you are looking for people even where there are no people. Because this is a white bottle, Inside a white bottle, we have these dolphins moving inside that dolphin. So that's when we are now declare that really we need those many eyes, ears, whatever senses as Africans to start to say, okay, let's look at things according to how we define things. Because if we just take the user interface and then be crazy about it and then use it as if it represents objective reality, we may be in danger that we may not develop our continent, our rich continent, African continent. We may not be able to develop it. But when you come together, see the ideas that we come together and bring in our collaboration, I can tell you in the next few years, we will be able to come with a solution from Africa. Maybe the Zoom that we have even now, which was designed by a Chinese American businessman, we may not be using it because we may design our own things and work on our own. But where does that start? It will only start the day we collaborate. We define things according to our African way. Then when we start to say, yes, it's according to this. This is what Africa has. So the platform that we are opening now is the platform where we start that journey of trying to identify what is called objective reality, and then work towards getting tools for objective reality. For example, if our objective reality is to say that when we supervise master students, when we teach our undergraduate students, we will train them to, each one of them will achieve 100%. So now that we have not seen that, no continent has come to that. All of them, they may be claiming that they are powerful, they have these tools and this, but if that can come from us to say, look at what at least one class has achieved 100%, each learner has passed this with 100%. So we'll start to say, yes, we have that tool for objective reality. But at the moment, we don't have it. Because once we have that tool, when we have our relatives in hospitals, we can just take that tool and apply to them, heal them same time, we take them out of the hospital. If we need money, we can just win lottery. We just apply that tool, it will help us to win lottery, then we are happy after that. But since we don't have that tool, let's work well. Let's decolonize our minds. I can see their colleagues are indicating that this is how we decolonize our minds to make sure that we see what we should see. Because what we see using these pictures that I've used to demonstrate, I was just showing you that we get carried away without making sure that we find exactly what is happening behind that, which is the objective reality of it. Now let us find it all the time. So in those indications, colleagues, then for our students, then when we supervise our students, we just make sure that we provide them with enough tools for them to deal with the issues. So technology today has helped us to say our student must use it. For example, if they want to have, if they want to communicate with their supervisor, they don't have to come to university. And then when we collaborate, we are not going to travel from South Africa to Kenya, from Kenya to South Africa, because we'll use the tool that we are using right now. So when we use the tools, it's working well. Because at the moment, the most dominating ones seem to be for conferencing or for teaching. It seems to be this Zoom as well as Microsoft Teams. So these things can be downloaded accordingly. So when our students come, join us, we ask them to download these tools first, and then we work accordingly. And also we encourage them to download Grammarly. What Grammarly do, if you have a sentence that seems to be plagiarized, it will indicate, it will highlight like this to say this. Or if the grammar is not in a good condition, then it will highlight again. So it highlights nicely there, then you can change it like that. And also they can also use Turnitin. Turnitin then is the tool that you use to check plagiarism, and there are other tools that are used there to check plagiarism. And then when we download it, we just have it like that to see. Usually for us, we know that the number is not important, but what is important is what is highlighted by this Turnitin tool. Because you may have 7% and start to say, no, that the similarity is low. But this tool is not telling you about what we have plagiarized, because you may have a full page taken directly from a certain source, and then this tool will indicate 7%. Yet we have taken that. I've seen quite a number of students trying that, where they say, no, I only have 2%, but that 2% may be a part that is really need to be changed, although it's 2%. So the number is not that important. What is important is what is highlighted by the tool, and then you look at it from there. And then also, we also encourage our students to download tools that they may use to manage their references. So in our case, we prescribed on EndNote. So EndNote is something that you can download from the system. So you download it there. After downloading it, you install it. It will install it automatically. It will give you steps. Once you have it, you'll be able to use it there. And it will ask you to create the library. But this PowerPoint presentation then will come to you through your coordinator from your university, because I will send this slide so that you see how the steps that you may follow if you decide to download EndNote, or if you decide to download whichever tool or Grammarly. You can just go follow these steps all the way, because you can generate your library from online, or you can manually type your library and add it to the library. And then once you have that, you will have all the tools that you need. I think then let me end there and ask Dr. Mpungose if there's something that I missed, so that we can now maybe go for questions and close the session for break. Yeah, Dr. Mpungose, anything that I seem to miss, please add, sir.
Prof, I think you've covered all what we've prepared. Thank you so much. I think we can proceed to the questioning session.
Okay. Thank you so much. MC, can you take us through then? That's the end of the presentation. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Koza Becky, for that very, very informative presentation, and for challenging us to see things from different perspectives before rushing to conclusions. And yeah, it was a very important reminder you gave us when you started, that we should, as supervisors, we should give our students, a platform to reflect, and that, this should indeed be, a joyous experience. And then that really means that there is need to cultivate a cordial relationship all the time between the supervisors and the students. Sometimes you might see a supervisor and student working together very hard, but with the students together so hard so that they can complete the program and celebrate together, joyfully. But then it can also happen sometimes that the supervisor and the student are working very hard to complete so that they don't have to meet again, good riddance. So we should always work, for the former rather than the later. Now, thank you so much once more for that presentation. We now, according to the program, we are supposed to have a break, but I guess we shall have a brief question and answer session before we can take a break. So I'll invite, we will invite any questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Quickly, direct your question to Professor. And then we could do this for maybe another 5 minutes before we take a break, because we've been sitting for a long time. So questions, even comments, I think are also very welcome, Professor, isn't it?
Yeah. It looked like there are two hands there. Thank you, sir. Daruk, I think it's Ruka and followed by Anna.
Okay, so we can take Anna, and then Dr. Ruga.
That's it.
I don't know why I'm not able to see the hands raised when I look at the participants, but well, yes. So your questions, please. I'm not able to see the hands.
Ruka.
Alice, yes. Yes, go ahead.
Oh,
Yes,
should I speak?
Oh, okay.
Should I speak?
Yeah, speak.
Yeah. You're
Yes.
welcome to speak.
Okay, so good morning to you, colleagues from the other part of the world. I'm sure, Prof. Koza, you're speaking from South Africa or in Kenya?
Yeah. No.
All right, okay.
In
So, well, it isn't really a question I want to, as it were, or it would be. I just want to re-emphasize generally what Prof. Koza has said in terms of not just being a supervisor, but also as reviewers, guest editors of journals, and so on and so forth. There was, for instance, a key point he raised that sometimes when we write our dissertation, he was speaking along the lines of this. Sometimes when we write our dissertation, we write not really wearing a cap of meeting reviewers who might pose certain questions to you or ask you to do certain things, and you would find it quite a bit disheartening. And indeed, I just want to re-echo that point and to say, I think we need to be extremely cautious, not just simply candidates trying to get our doctorate or our masters, but even with the supervisors, we need to be extremely cautious, not simply to be interested in simply graduating a student or just having my master's or just having my PhD, because trust me, unfortunately, that is how the system is. We are, for the most part, interested in just having our qualifications and not really pay attention to what I call the science or the mechanics of writing. And so you would see that the lessons you learn during your supervision processes seem to be slightly different when you start actually writing. And that explains also why, if you do not grasp the science and mechanics of writing comprehensively during your supervision processes, it becomes extremely difficult to publish. Even though you would have your PhD, even though you would have finished with your PhD, even though you would have written a very good dissertation, that is to say, your external examiners will give you flying reports. It's completely different from actually writing for a first tier and second tier journals. I think in essence, the gist of what I was getting from Prof is just for us to be cautious of that and to pay critical attention to the way we write, not simply to just attain a master's or attain a PhD and that is it, because the road doesn't end there. In fact, it tends to begin after you have finished with your PhD. It tends to actually be, especially those of us in academia, the road actually begins when you stop or you end with your PhD. And so I just thought I should re-echo those points. Those are very key points. If you listen to the entire presentation, it's all about mechanics of writing, the science of writing, and is to prepare you to stand on your feet once you finish with your PhD. Because trust me, particularly those of us, you and I in academia, your journey actually starts when you finish with your PhD, because that is when you become a baby all together, trying to climb another ladder to become probably a senior lecturer, to become probably an associate professor, to become probably a professor. So, well, it's quite an insightful thing to hear Prof raising all of these things. And I hope that our colleagues have also paid a very critical attention to some of what he said. Thank you very much. We hope to listen to the next part of your session.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Inas. Then I think we can take the next question from Dr. Rugar and then Dr. Jackson Ogeno. Then maybe Professor could respond after those two. Is that okay, Professor? Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Rugar, go ahead, followed by Dr. Jackson Ogeno.
Thank you. Thank you. Mine is not really a question, but just comments. I hope you are hearing me, Mr. MC.
Yeah.
I can hear you loud and clear, Dr.
Thank you. Good morning, my colleagues from South Africa. Here in Kenya,
morning.
the weather is very nice. It's cool.
Good morning.
And we are happy. I'm particularly happy with your presentation, very systematic and very thought-provoking. And particularly so because you took me back into looking at the philosophy of research. Why conduct research? And that's where we start. Like you said, knowing the objective reality, the truth, which is very slippery. And many of us are very impatient and don't wait to get to the objective reality. Scratching the surface and not going to the real thing. I like that it came out where we just saw the frog instead of the head of a horse, because we were very impatient. Now, the next thing that you brought out is research paradigms. Paradigms, even when we are talking about allowing a student to reflect, even when we talk about allowing the scholars to do reflection, reflection cannot be done from without. It has to be done within a context, and that context is set very clearly by paradigms, which we hardly teach to our master students because of time constraints or because of curriculum design. The curriculum may have been designed in a way that nobody talks about the paradigms, but the publishing world expect the students to have a framework of what we are calling the paradigm. So understanding of the paradigm is very important because it becomes the first set. Now, when we talk about Africanizing the publication world, then it means we must think about these paradigms. They did not originate from us. We got them, like I got them from Kalinga myself. I read from Kalinga, and I believe that Kalinga said the truth. Whether that is the truth, I don't know. So the question first begins, are those paradigms working for us? Or is it that they are not working, that people have abandoned allowing learners to get through those paradigms so that we move on to know our frameworks very well? The next thing that I wanted to bother about is the purpose of publishing. Why do we publish? Why is it that after writing anything, you want it to be published? What is the end? Is it that people read it, or is there something else? And that, to me, is the sad thing. when we are doing our research, we don't have our people as the audience. We don't have our settings as the end game. We think about somebody else in another country to consume my work without having that work having real purpose in our village, in our schools, in our institutions, in our country. So why do you want to tell people your story when that story is not useful at home? Thank you.
I like that, Prof. But if your story is not interesting to you and your people around you, why then do you tell the world?
Yeah.
That's exactly what.
Yeah, very, very interesting thoughts from Dr. Ruga. Yeah, why must you tell your story all the same, even if people don't need it? What thinking about? Okay, thank you, Dr. Ruga. Dr. Ogeno.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ogula. I want to join my colleague, Dr. Ruga, in appreciating the presentation from our colleagues from South Africa. Unfortunately, I arrived a bit late because I was trying to connect. Eventually, I joined. But I presume that the topic was on supervision models. And I think our colleague, Dr. Simon, really was up to the point. I have three concerns. They may look at questions, but there are concerns. The first concern in the presentation, it looks like it was more metaphorical in the sense that we were using animals to represent relationship. For example, there is a situation in which there is a lion and a zebra. At one point, a lion is chasing a zebra, and the zebra's, hind legs is almost hitting the lion in the same sense. But the other way around, which is a bit also unique, where the zebra is now chasing the lion. Now, the other situation with the tiger and lion, and looks at one time, they are all threatening with their sharp teeth, you know, the danger. Somebody who was listening would have been entertained and thought it was a question of the animal kingdom in that fight. But I presumed that the narrative was about the relationship between the supervisor and the student. So if that is the case, then I think that is a pale elephant in the room. Sometimes the relationship that occur between the supervisors and the supervisor and the supervisee sometimes can be very confrontational, accusation and counter-accusation, such that one may start saying the supervisor is delaying, and then the supervisor is saying the student is not responding. Maybe what you have come up in those overlapping cycles of Venn diagrams, in which the center is what you call the natural identity framework, which will harmonizing both the professional, the personal, and the societal. When those overlapping Venn diagrams come in, maybe that is the ideal. Maybe the question is, how would we attain that natural identity framework of supervision in which that harmony is there? Or is it a utopia? A utopia with you and a utopia with the EU. Those two utopias, one is ideal, which is not tenable, but the other one is perfect and can be tenable. So how would we ascertain that utopia with the EU? That is the first question. The second question is about those photos that we are seeing it. And believe me not, people are just seeing what they wanted to see. And therefore, we are seeing illusion or phantasmagory, if we like it. And therefore, observation, many people say that in observation, we always see what we want to see. And I could see some were seeing frogs, others were seeing horse. There are situations where we are seeing dolphin, and then there are also people and beautiful ladies and so on. That said and done, I ask, if people are always seeing what they see because we concentrate on our own perspective, would it be therefore acceptable and advisable for us to use what I may call multidisciplinary approach? Because every discipline have got their narrow perspective. So that if we can combine a research by involving different perspectives from different disciplines, then perhaps that could be ideal. And if that being the case, why must we be very strict saying we must only use scientific paradigm, which we know sometimes is so narrow? Actually, we so narrow our research by being so ritualistic, and then we want them to follow format as given by a university. And I think, and that's my feeling, that we really narrow the scope of discovery that we get. Some of these discoveries are not achieved by using those narrow scientific paradigm, which really are well defined, and that you must follow them. Even referencing, we are told to use APA, and if you have used something else, then you are just condemned. What is your comment about this way of narrowing research? Until now, we are only feeling rituals, and we don't really go to the essence of research, where we should be coming with new ideas. Because I think we should liberate ourselves from these narrow, strict paradigms, given that this is our format and you must follow it per letter. Even if a student is very creative, you find a lecturer and the system trying to fight against that. What is your view about that? Let me leave it at that point.
Okay. Must I respond, Doug? Okay.
I think it's okay to respond now.
Yeah.
Because those are the three people who had raised their hands, so it's okay to make a response.
Yeah. Okay, let me respond. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you for for the emphasis on what I've presented. And really, this platform is for that yes, we need those tools to come through. When they come through like that, that's what we think we may come up with a tool that will help us. So now, in terms of talking about animals, in that context, I was referring to that three models that are presented, that yes, there's this vertical one, there's this horizontal one, there's this. So in other words, a lion is representing what we call horizontal, because its behavior is like horizontal, since you can see that lions would like to work together as a team all the time. So they like to cooperate. But when they eat, then each one of them will eat as individual. But when you look at the tiger is working alone. While he's working alone like that, is territorial, but is quicker to finish that job. So when students take that approach, then they finish their study as early as they can, because what they do, they follow what the university has prescribed as it is. They follow it like that. But in terms of the horizontal, they may not necessarily follow that, but what they do, they borrow ideas from other individuals. So if that is not working, then so lion then is happy with that, going around looking for food, etc. as a team, and the tiger is happy with what he may be doing in getting food alone. So you can see that both of them are happy, they are joyful. So when we deal with the issues of supervision, then we may follow either of the two, but one of them maybe may follow either of the two to dominate what we are doing. But what is important then is that first understand our needs, and then working with our needs will help us to find what we want to find. So in terms of Doug there, working with multiple disciplines, yes, it should be given like that, yes. It should be like that. However, because of this, what we call a theory of evolution. A theory of evolution has shaped us. It has shaped us to agree with any tool that we come across. For example, if I say, here is Microsoft Word document. I want you to type this Microsoft Word document. Then you will be able to type using the icon that you see on your screen, because that icon is the user interface. So it will be easy for you. Just double click the icon and then the page will come. But the document is not blue like the icon, which is the user interface. Now, when you type that document, it will come as black and white. Then the other person will start to say, no, don't use the user interface. So in other words, don't use the theory that you have, the theory that is coming from so and so. Don't use that. Use something that will help the student to pass. So in terms of using Microsoft Word, then the objective reality of Microsoft Word is that there are circuits and voltages that were combined in order to produce Microsoft Word. So the objective reality of Microsoft Word is around the circuit and the voltage. If someone will say to you, don't send me and don't type this document using the user interface, but go to the objective reality of Microsoft Word, it's not going to happen, because not all of us are able to design, to use those circuits to bring about Microsoft Word. So that user interface has its own objective reality behind it. So even the pictures that I've indicated, they have someone who designed has something else about them. But what we see, we simply see to say, we see people, we see that, you see. So in other words, the emphasis here is that even if we use different disciplines, come together, work together like that, we must always start to say, this is what we need. What we need must determine the user interface that we use. To say, we use Microsoft Word to type letters. But there should be a stage where we advance in using Microsoft Word to say, we are aware that the objective reality of Microsoft Word are these circuits that were combined in order to produce this. But all the theories we have right at the moment are just our sensory candy. So our senses are just given them, and then we get attracted, and then we survive using them. But behind them, behind each one of them, we don't know objective reality of each one of them. But we control the objective reality, which we don't know, because we have these tools. So my emphasis will then start to say, yes, we have these nice paradigms that are coming from other continents. Then we may now have to start to say, we've used these paradigms, but they have not given us one student who has achieved 100% in his master's or in the undergraduate. We have never seen one class that have produced each student with 100%. Therefore, which means that the theories that we use, or the paradigms that we use, the approaches that we use, are just user interface, but behind them, there is objective reality, something that you can use and make sure that all students in your class are getting 100%. But for now, we just have what we call user interface. So our user interface then should be developed enough to capture the need of Africa. And then from the need of Africa, then we go closer to objective reality of those things that we are dealing with. But when we use the user interface as the objective reality, we may still miss it, because we are not going to achieve those 100% that we may be looking for. I think the comments were around those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor, for the response. I think we we need to just unmute for some 5 seconds and clap Professor. For Professor, you know, some of the spontaneity that comes with these face-to-face interactions is lost when we go online. So let's just unmute kindly for 5 seconds. We clap for Professor so that we can now end this session and take a break. Thank you, Professor. Well done, well done. You can see we have actually, you may mute now. You may mute now. You can see that we have actually eaten into the time that was set aside for the next session, but we are not complaining. It was so interesting. Maybe that's why you didn't even realize that we had taken much time. We should have ended at.
Unmute yourself.
You are muted, Dr. Gora.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
for facilitating such an interesting session. We've actually eaten into the time that we had set aside for the afternoon, for the after break session, but we are not complaining. It was very interesting. The session was so interesting. Maybe that's why we didn't realize that we have spent quite a bit of time in it. But then when we come back, maybe we'll be a little more creative with the way we use our time so that we keep within the time that is available for us. But it has been a very beneficial experience interacting with you, Professor. Now, our program says that we need now to take a break for 15 minutes. We've been seated for so long. It's only healthy that we take this break, 15 minutes, grab a cup of coffee, stretch our muscles a little, and then we'll be back. It is now 11:40, and so I suggest we take that break until 11:55, then we come back. Dr. Nji here, I don't know if there's anything you need to add here as we take the break before we come back to conclude this webinar.
Nothing to add, Dr. Ogora. So let's go for the break and then we come back for the second session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Yeah.
So thank you.